My name is CharleneMorgan. I come from Indiana. Got married very young, and we moved to California. We had 3 children, got in business, and retired in California, and then went to Arkansas, where I live in the middle of the woods in a town, a big town of 642 people. The wildlife there is absolutely fabulous, as is the scenery there. It's a very peaceful setting. We enjoyed it very much. My husband died 4 years ago, going on 5 now, and I was having a little problem with him. In fact, Oxford was the town where they did the Beverly Hillbillies, and where little Granny is sitting on top of the truck or car or whatever in her little rocking chair, and you say, leaving Oxford, population 642.
That's funny.
Scratch. It was 571. There's a small community hospital about 15 miles away, but they do not handle any trauma. It's just a basic stopover before they helicopter you to another area where it's more populated. Yes, I did. I'd had cancer, and from that cancer they had inserted these little stents inside my urethra tubes. So that kept me open and so forth. But those stents caused what they call a UTI, or urinary tract infections, and I had many of them. And it was one of those procedures that I had done in the office that started my road to where I am to this day. Actually, I was in California visiting my daughter Rhonda and her husband John, and I was feeling ill, and so I even called my doctor back in Arkansas and says, I think I got another urinary infection. I'm not feeling well, so she gave me some prescription for antibiotics, because I was going to see my urologist within a couple of days after I got back, which I did. In fact, when I went to my urologist, that's the first thing I said to him was, I got this urinary tract infection, and I have taken a full regimen of antibiotics, and I'm no better. In fact, I believe I'm worse. He opted to go along with doing the procedure of removing the stents, thinking, I'm sure, as he told me, that this could relieve me from some pain and so forth by removal of these stents. He did so, and in the process, he had a little problem getting them out, but he did. And when I left, I was very much in pain, and I was bleeding quite a bit. At this hospital or his office, which is in the hospital, we had to drive 55 miles to my home, which is rough terrain. So this didn't help the pain and the little discomforts that I did have. It was increasingly worse by the time I got home. If it gets any worse, he says, give me a call.
Okay, so then you went home, and I guess you continued bleeding and continued feeling worse?
And I was starting to feel weaker. I was trying to move around as much as I can and not give in to this and so forth, but I was feeling weaker, and it scared me. I went in and I laid down, and that's the last thing I remembered for about 6.5, 7 weeks. That's the last I remember. I was found by my son, Matthew. I was in a pool of blood and feces, and half on the bed, half off. I have no idea of how I got to that position, or of them picking me up and taking me 55 miles away to the hospital. I have no recollection of the next 30-some days in ICU, none whatsoever. I only know what I was told by my family and my friends who tried to visit me. And as I understand, I was not doing all that well. At the time, I just wasn't recognizing anything. while I was in the ICU, I was told that I had a heart attack, that I had a stroke, that I had complete renal failure, that I was put on kidney dialysis, that I had pneumonia. I had respirators, aspirators, ventilators, you name it. I was completely surrounded with all this equipment and IVs and so forth. I had no recollection of any of this. They did procedures on me. I had no idea. They said I weathered well. When I woke up, I was in another city, in another hospital. I don't remember the ambulance drive of 150 some miles away, but there I was, and there was my little daughter right there by me, and my only contact to reality, because I was in a strange place. When I became conscious of where I was, and I was in a room and so forth, what I recall was that they had this tube down my throat, and I wanted very much to be free of that. And I tried to communicate with my daughter with this in my mouth. Get this the hell out of here. Because I really, really didn't like it. And I think my anger of trying to rid myself of all of these tubes and these machines actually gave me more strength. If that's believable or not, it seemed to. And like I say, my daughter was my only cord to reality, because there was nothing more than just a flurry of doctors and nurses, and that was it. That's all I recall. Never knowing a name, never knowing who's who in the zoo, just my daughter. Thank God for that. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very difficult to describe, because you are tethered in every direction. You're caught up in a situation you do not wish to be in. You fight it. You have no answers. You cannot talk. You cannot communicate. There's no way you can really know where things are at. My daughter seemed to read my mind, because she says, "You're here. This is what's happening." And as the doctors came in, she was talking to them. She made them understand that she needed to know what was going on. And in that process, I learned where I was at, what they were going to do. They certainly didn't tell me. It was my daughter's conversation with them. But this trapped, this feeling of not being able to move, not being able to turn over, understanding that my hand and my feet was covered with gangrene, unmovable, extremely painful. I felt like I had been invaded by something so horrible that it was going to be very difficult to get through this. I knew that. Thinking of tomorrow. Tomorrow gave me hope. Of course, I did a lot of praying. That was the one thing I could do without having to speak aloud. But no, there wasn't an option as far as giving up. I don't know what the word means to give up. I figure I will give up when God says it's time to give up. You know, this may not sound all that great, but it meant a lot to me. My daughter came in, decided she was going to do me up. She was going to fix my hair. Well, not my hair. I didn't have hair, excuse me, because of the cancer. But she was going to make up my face and wash me up and get me all spiffied. And she bought me some jammies. And this was probably about week 7, I would say. I felt she got out her little camera and she did a little interview with me. Oh, I don't talk well on camera, but it really, really made a difference to me. Just having that little episode and people come in saying, "My, look at you," and so forth, and that stands out in my mind, because it was something that was unexpected. Plus the fact that she read to me a lot. I like that. It was like I could go into a place and into the stories with her, and it was kind of like a little escape. The doctors in Arkansas, well, for one thing, I got to be fair to them. I knew very few. I knew none of those in the mountain home where I went for the emergency. I did get to know a little bit of Dr. Dvorkin, a young doctor, very, very smart. But that was it. He was there to treat me, and he did so and explained what was going on to my daughter, and then that was it. There was absolutely no real ties with any single person, with the exception of one nurse. Actually, she wasn't a nurse. She was an aide. And she brought me my meal, and my daughter wasn't there. And my hand was all bandaged up. And a simple thing of opening up salt. A little tiny bag. Trying to do this. It doesn't work well when you have no teeth in your mouth. That was not good. Then she comes in and says, "Aren't you eating?" And I'm thinking, here's a slab of meat. I can't even, my hand's bandaged. I can't even cut my meat. Better still, I can't even set up to barely see where I'm at because the tray was right at my nose. And I said, "You want me to try to eat with this?" And she looked at my hand and she goes, "Oh my God." And then she did. She cut everything up and she says, "From this time on, I promise you, you won't have a meal that I won't get ready for you so you can eat. I'll feed you if you want me to." That was my one real contact in all my stay there of about 4 weeks in Little Rock. Now, across Rubbles in Thousand Oaks, there was a brand new world that opened up there for me. I didn't really feel like a number. I really didn't. I felt that each one that I do recall were trying to do the best they could to keep me on even keel. My system was going high, low, backwards, sideways. I think every doctor that took care of me tried their level best to do what they could for me and take care of the problem at hand. I didn't feel like I was left, but I think a big portion of that was my daughter made damn sure I was taken care of. If something was not working, she was the one that said, "I need you to look at this. I need to talk to you about this." So she was my voice when I couldn't speak. And then she became my voice from then on because she really could speak better and get more information out of these doctors than I ever could. But I don't feel like I was a number. I wasn't told that I would lose my fingers until week 7, week 8, something on that order. I was horrified that when the gangrene came on my hands and that my hand was curling and became black leather like. What really got me and brought me home to realizing that I'm going to lose some of these fingers and some of these toes. Maybe at the time they said I could lose my hand and both feet. So I'm fortunate. I have a hand here that moves. But the gangrene, they told me that it would handle itself. That it actually could break off and that'd be the best way to go. And I took my finger, my index finger, and I moved it a little bit. And I could see it was just like it was just a piece of leather. There was no feeling, there was nothing there. And sure enough, that could have fallen off before amputation. And that gave me, I am not going to see these fingers move anymore. They are dead. And they were. All the pieces that are missing was what died as my toes. So that was a realization that I realized, and it seemed that the doctors were concentrating on everything but that. Of course, all this was in Arkansas. This was not an option at the point in time about the surgery. We're not going to worry about any amputations. let's keep her alive right now. Well, let's just try to do that first. We'll worry about the other later. And so later, I was watching these, what used to be flesh, turn to black leather pieces of what didn't look like fingers anymore, or toes. Actually, I've always been good with my hands, very good. I realized I was going to change forever. That I may not have it. How would I exist without a hand? But wait, look at here. This one here, God decided to give me this one, and I got it, and it works, and it's right, and it's normal. So I had to face the fact I may not have a hand, because the whole idea about gangrene is they have to cut down past the gangrene, not at the gangrene, to save the joint. Otherwise it continues to grow. So I faced the fact that this hand was gone, that if I had anything left of this hand, I was going to take back every crack I ever did, and I'll do it better. And by Jove, I'm in the process of doing that. Slower, but I'm doing it. These fingers have no feelings on all the ends, except for the pinky here, which is healthy. So I can't feel when I touch something. So this right hand is doing 90% of everything. But I'm forcing to hold a stylus so that when I use it, it's going to become my left hand eventually. And of course the iPad's easier because it's not like your computer where you have to have a keyboard. It's smooth. You can just tap the little space on the screen and you're typing away. So it's slower, but patience is my big what's the word for it? Goal. To master patience and to give myself some forgiveness. Well, one thing that made a direct point with my daughter is that she couldn't stay there and take care of me. And the best way for her to care and look after me would be with her in California. So the goal was to get strong enough to go to California. The conditions of the hospital was not the greatest, nor was the service. Hence, she spent more time with me than maybe she normally would have had to if I'd had closer communication with the nurses and the aides. So her big deal was get her out of here now. Let's go to California where I can have some control. So we did. We found Dr. Gifford through my son-in-law's boss, who had back problems and had a doctor who took care of his back, who recommended Dr. Gifford.
Actually, it was Dan Copsey's back doctor who referred us to Dr. Hurlis.
Oh, okay. Well, see, she knows all that. Dr. Gifford came to us through a recommendation from a doctor out here in California. I loved her, but I had to tell my daughter, well, she sure doesn't look old enough to be a doctor. But I just dearly loved her. I had the confidence. As she answered every question, I actually felt comfortable right away, the very first visit with her, that she could easily do what I needed done. Well, she made it very clear that I had a very serious situation here, and what she could do for me, how much she could do for me, and why she wanted me to look at another doctor who was a microsurgeon to work on my hand. She was specialized in feet. So she definitely could handle the foot. She recommended Dr. Elong, and we made an appointment to go and see him. she said that this should be done fairly quickly, and she assured me that she had done amputations, toe amputations and so forth on feet, because she is a podiatrist. She does work on the feet, and that this would not be a problem, but she needed to get to it pretty quick because she didn't want it to continue to get worse. Well, we went to Dr. Yusefia. He was highly recommended, and he became my primary doctor. Dr. Yusefia is the one that started throwing the doctors together that would be needed in the team, in a team effort to get me through all this. Dr. Gifford recommended Dr. Elong for the fact that he did hand surgery, and also he was going to do one of my feet. So that was part of the team there. They brought in Dr. Nathan. Dr. Nathan was going to handle my bacterium because of my sepsis that I had while I was in Mountain Home. I still had a lot of bacterium inside of me, so he had to maintain that and give me antibiotics and monitor it so that I could afford to go through, or I could live through some of these surgeries. The one surgery, the big surgery that I went through was 15 hours. That was a long time, they say. And it took a team of doctors to do that. And Dr. Long worked long and hard on trying to remove a vessel from my foot and to put it into my hand so that it could give me more blood flow in my thumb and so forth. Because there's always this problem of when they cut your fingers off, when you cut your toes off, they're cutting your circulation, they're cutting down the amount of blood flow. And he was trying to restore that as much as he could. And he worked really hard. Unfortunately, it didn't work, but he gave it a hell of a try. We had the team of doctors that came in there daily. I can't remember the doctor's name, and I want to mention him. Dr. Susky. Dr. Susky is very difficult to remember his name. Dr. Susky and Dr. Elong, they worked together, and both of them worked together in my surgery. And it was one or the other I saw daily. I never felt like I was ever alone, and that I wasn't being supported, that I wasn't being taken care of. In fact, I saw all of these doctors daily, and they all worked together. And if one saw that something needed to be done by the other, they communicated. Whenever there was anything done, they all communicated. It was just wonderful that I had this support. That was kind of cute the way it went for my feet, because whenever I had a problem, one of my feet was hurting. Understanding both had surgeries at different times. Dr. Gifford's foot, Dr. Long's foot. If I had a problem with a foot, it was, is it Dr. Gifford's or is it mine? I loved that part, you know. But I was taken care of. It was a long process. It was 5 months before I was able to stand and take a step. That was a long trip. But I did stand, and I did take that first step, and I went through the wheelchair and the pusher cart and the cane, and now I walk myself without any support. I'm trying to learn to dance because I love dancing, and as I understand, all you have to do is move your feet, and I've got still 2 feet. I just don't have toes. Never. My problem is when the doctor said, we will know how much of your feet we have to take by the blood pressure that we feel in your foot. If there is enough blood pressure, we will be able to take what we have to take. But if the blood pressure is not there, we'll have to take both of your feet. That was a big one, okay? But so when they took the blood pressure, I'm holding my breath, and I'm waiting, and then naturally they take a little longer while they're doing all this. And it says, no, blood pressure's good. I said, what? no, the blood pressure is good. No, we do not have to remove your feet. We're going to just take your toes. So they just took my toes. And it's going to be a problem the rest of my life, but it's not going to be a problem I'm going to worry about. Because I want to do things. I want to be able to walk a mile, 2 miles, because I love walking. And it's going to be good for me. And I will. I have to wear special prostheses in my shoes. In fact, I can show you my shoe, what they've done here. That was Dr. Guest, Vincent Guest, that did this, but if you see, this pulls out like so, and here's my sole. No, my sole's here, but here's my sole. And my foot fits like this inside the shoe. That's all there is to it. With this, I'm able to wear my shoes, my regular shoes. I just got to worry about how hard they are. But I'm able to walk. My foot is sort of funny looking, as you can see. Okay? But it's not the end of the world. Almost looks like a geisha foot in a way, right?
Yeah, it's almost like your toes are hiding there.
But it's a new foot. Not everybody gets a new foot. They just got to learn how to walk. And I'm doing quite well with that. So, I now have a way that I can walk. I don't limp. I can show you that if you want. But I don't limp. I just have got to get stronger, and I will. Thanks to the team that put this together, helped me, operate it. I've had 2 surgeries on the right, 1 surgery on the left, a couple surgeries on this one here, and I'm going to have 1 more before I'm done. But I will survive, and I will do again, even at 72. You just have got to want to do it and do it. Because that's all there is in life. Wanting and then doing. Oh, it scared the hell out of me. I went in there and I'm sitting there in the examining room and I'm looking at all these posters on his wall and I'm seeing these horrific metal fixtures and so forth that will be fingers or be toes for you or feet for you. And I'm thinking, what on earth is going to happen to me? I had no ideas about what he's going to do. But he made that form. It was absolutely stepped into a box. Out I came, and he made the form, and he shaped it, and he adjusted it to me. And I had a brace that he put that went with it because I had a tendency to want to fall backwards. Believe it or not, toes do keep you on a stable platform when you have your weight shifting back and forth. So I tried the braces and so forth, but I'm such a go-getter. I soon shucked those braces, and now I just wear the prostheses in my shoe, and they work well. And we need a lot of support with people out there, like Dr. Vince, as I like to call him, because he cares how it feels. He cares what you have to say, and he makes suggestions. And in fact, I'm going to see him next week, and I'm looking forward to it. The doctors made it possible for me to have it tomorrow. For me to wake up in the morning and actually go someplace, do something, be normal. All that they did for me made this possible. It was not an easy task because my system, having the sepsis as I did, tend to throw things off and so forth. But they worked with it, they worked with each other, and they made me whole as much as they could. And I'm thankful for what I have. It's going to be difficult, but I'm thankful for that, so that I can know where I can start and go from there.